Welcome to the Restoration Group podcast, where we're always silly and always serious about investing in Oklahoma City leaders who desire to integrate their work into their Christian faith. I am your host, Clay Steves. Today, I am joined by my co-hosts, Michael Mead and the one and only Aaron Scott. Team, the question today is, where is your favorite place you have flown in an airplane?
Because of the destination or the experience on the plane?
The destination. Because last time I asked you guys about your favorite plane in last week's episode, and I got mocked. So let's talk about the destination.
Experience on an airplane. I don't have to know what kind of airplane it is to enjoy the experience.
Okay, but what was your favorite experience on an airplane?
My favorite experience on an airplane was flying back from Dubai to
mic drop. I'm just gonna drop the pin right here.
It was because it was on like Air Dubai or whatever.
Yeah.
Their
Emirates.
There it is.
Yeah.
And best like crew ever. They were awesome, and the group that I was flying with, they just really liked us for some reason, brought us free drinks. So it was great. You got that experience? Extra leg room. It was great.
Experience?
It's not quite that good, but I have a good one that just came to mind.
Yeah.
Me and Kimberly flew to Europe. So it was a long flight.
Yeah.
It was in the fall.
Yeah.
And, it was our first time to do it. We were just feeling super excited. First and only time I've ever had alcohol on a plane. I ordered a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. This is we're just in it. The gentleman next to me ordered the same drink. Yeah. We both get our drinks. He's just so excited about it. We're not really talking, but he just lifts his drink up and is like, cheers. I was like, yeah, we're going to cheers. I took a drink. 30 seconds later, his drink is in his lap. He spilled the whole thing. It was so bad. And he just deflated.
Did he order another one?
No, he just gave up. He gave up. So It was pretty funny.
Nice, good stories. Yeah. I mean, you guys are just pulling those out of thin air. Airbus A380.
No, not favorite plane.
No. From Chicago to London on British Airways. That plane, it's incredible. Yeah.
See, you're
awesome.
Back to the plane.
Yeah. Well, the plane.
You could have a terrible experience on a.
You're right. It was
nice
awesome
plane.
though. They throttled forward, right? The sales and marketing engines throttled up. The cash flow was good, so the plane went. You see, okay,
I see what you're doing
but it was
here.
Silent. Those engines, you can hardly hear them, and this bus is huge. Airplane, sorry.
Do people call them buses?
Well, if it's an Airbus. Yeah. Okay. So today we are continuing a 3-part series, and we are in episode number 2 of this 3-part series, talking about the Business Made Simple business model that we are certified as coaches. Michael got certified, and so we as a business have to offer this through Donald Miller and his program. We began talking about the guiding principles, which we're going to say as often as we can, right, Michael?
Guiding principles.
Guiding principles. Aaron? Nope, she's not going to do it.
Feels
That's
forced.
how it goes.
Feels forced.
I know. Last week in the episode, we talked about the mission statement. And today, Michael, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so we'll do a quick overview of the plane.
Yeah.
And just because we're using that analogy, what does that mean? And then we're going to dive deeper into the leadership part of the plane and talk about key characteristics. So
the cockpit, right?
The cockpit.
The
That's
cockpit
right.
is the leadership part.
So imagine a plane
Yeah.
with me. So you have the cockpit represents the leadership, and that is really how do we determine where we're going? What are the coordinates for our flight?
Yes.
Then you have the sales and marketing engine. So we really dove deep into those in our last series that you can go back and listen to. And that's what gives the plane thrust. It's what helps it get off the ground and go. And then the fuselage is your overhead and operations. So that's where your people are. That's your systems, the body of the plane, your systems, processes, efficiencies, that kind of thing. Your products are the wings or service. Products or service are the wings of the plane. It's what gives you lift, helps you fly far and fast. And then your fuel tank is your cash flow.
Come on now.
And so that's what ensures that you have enough fuel in the tank to keep flying.
Yeah.
If you run out of cash, it's going to be hard to stay in business. So today we're diving deeper into the leadership cockpit. And as you hear us describe those 6 parts of the plane, if you're anything like me, you might wonder, how am I doing in that? And we do have a resource that you can check out. It's called My Business Report. There's a link for it in the show notes. It's completely free, no strings attached. It'll take you 10 minutes and it'll give you a diagnostic of how your airplane, air quotes, your business airplane is doing. So you can take advantage of that. It's in the show notes. Leadership cockpit. So we're talking about guiding principles is really the nuts and bolts of what we mean when we talk about the leadership cockpit. So guiding principles are your mission statement, your key characteristics, and your critical actions.
Yep.
Last week, we talked a lot about the mission statement. It's a different way to think about mission statements. If you haven't listened to that episode, you can go back and check that one out. Today, we're looking at key characteristics. A phrase to kind of dial in, what do we mean when we say that, is who do we, the employees at the company, need to be or become to accomplish the mission? So who do we need to be or become to accomplish the mission?
So these can be aspirational.
They absolutely can be aspirational. I think that's really important to note, because sometimes when you hear about this can commonly be mixed up with values. So that's been a cultural thing in business. This is a bit different than that, and we'll kind of nuance what that looks like. But if you're thinking about it as values, you're not far off. And a lot of people talk against creating aspirational values because you don't want to misrepresent who you are. And that makes sense. In this case, we can create an aspirational key characteristic. And we're just claiming we're not this yet, but we know we need to be to accomplish the mission. And so that's a bit of a nuance that I think is important. So as we've brought this into our company, what are, and just learn the, principles behind it, what are some examples just to kind of help folks get in the right frame of mind here for key characteristics a business might have?
Aaron.
Go ahead.
I'll try to get you to go earlier and you wouldn't. So, one that we have had is takes initiative to share resources. And so we as a business create a lot of resources, from our podcast to the products that we have with Enneagram or the Integrated Business Guide or this Business Made Simple content that we've gotten certified with through Donald's program. And so for us, we said, you know what? One of the key characteristics about us is we need to be consistently sharing these things. We need to be taking initiative to do that. And so that was one of the ones that we said, you know what? That may not be true about us right now, but if we're going to achieve the mission that we've set out in front of us, that is going to have to be a part of it, because we put a lot of effort and energy into these. We care about them. And so we need to be sharing those to help us achieve our mission. So that was a specific one that I've seen. And I think I've seen our team begin to live that out more and more, where it wasn't true at the start as a consistent, but now we're beginning to do it more consistently. Yeah.
And go ahead.
I didn't know that we could cheat and use ones from our own business. I thought we were giving hypothetical examples from hypothetical businesses.
Oh, my bad. Is that
there's no wrong answer on this test.
When I read here.
Well, we want to hear your examples, Aaron.
She pointed to a place on the paper. I'm like, did I miss it?
She's got hers written down.
Did you?
I want to sit on this for a second, though, Clay, because one of ours, like you said, is takes initiative to share resources.
Yeah.
That is incredibly specific.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference here between core values. For example, we have core values. Excellence is one of them.
Yep.
So excellence takes initiative to share resources. I might be a little unclear if I'm excellent in my role. There's some ways to do that, but it's a little less attainable for me to really know. I can really confront, am I sharing our resources or not? It's
taking initiative on your own.
And taking the initiative to do that. And so it's a lot easier for me as an employee to know, am I doing this thing, or do I need to aspire to do this more?
Yeah.
And it's also very specific to our business and our business model. That would be a terrible key characteristic for some businesses.
Sure.
It's very unique to our context and our business. So Aaron's a little frustrated that you cheated, but it was a good example. Aaron, for a hypothetical business that has a hypothetical key characteristic, what examples could you think of?
Well, I thought of some, and then I got all flustered because you cheated. And I do have a lot of notes, but they're not that's not what's written down. So I'm very flustered.
Sorry, I flustered Aaron. My bad.
I'm trying to think of, like if it were, I think some could be focused around like customer service type things. And again, wanting to be more specific than excellence, but being more specific on, maybe you have a lawn business, I don't know, and you want to stand out from other lawn businesses because of your customer service. And so you might have a key characteristic of, I'm thinking about this off the top of my head right now, of like, we always knock on the door and, ask if they need anything else before we leave, like when we service a lawn or something, just something that would maybe set your business apart. Or, we have, we connect with our customers personally. So like maybe it's that we write a note, like to every lawn that we service, and like mail it to them or something. I don't know. So I'm kind of spiraling here because I'm so flustered, but
my bad.
But I think
principles.
I'm trying to think of things again with the that maybe we don't do today, like you said, and maybe you don't do that today, but we recognize that these are the types of characteristics that we want to have. Like we care about our customers on a deeper level than our competitors. You know, maybe that's our key characteristic. And then we figure out how we actually show that or what that tangibly looks like.
Yeah. So a great example to kind of riff off of this for a real estate company would be loves showing houses. Like they just thoroughly enjoy. It's not a chore. They just love showing up. And you can teach that a little bit, but really like you do that at the hire. Like if somebody doesn't love showing homes, then they might just not be a good fit in your organization, or they need to become someone who loves showing homes.
I was gonna say that's intriguing because
Yeah.
like you could someone when you're hiring and you're kind of thinking this through and but this is the power of it, right?
Yeah.
This is the power of having the key characteristic. So this is not a hypothetical one. Can I share another real one? About maybe another business that I know about that's in orthopedics. Yeah. And it's about passionate about orthopedics.
Right.
Like that's a key characteristic at that business. And the key, maybe someone's coming from oil and gas or from real estate or another arena. But the key that you have to recognize is that for Habakkuk to achieve its mission, for this other business to achieve its mission, the people here have to be passionate about orthopedics. Yeah. And if you're not, well, then this just isn't a spot for you because everybody here is passionate about orthopedics. Yeah. How do you handle that in a hiring process? Like, what are your thoughts if someone is not, I guess, how could these serve in the hiring process?
Well, I don't know if I'm speaking specifically to if someone is not, but I think having key characteristics brings a lot of clarity into the hiring process. I wrote myself a note that like, I think it makes the interview process a lot more real and a lot more personal versus, interview questions can just become so generic. You know, they're just tell us about a time that you had a conflict at work.
Tell me about your superpower.
Yeah, things like that. And I think there's a time and place for stuff like that. But I think when you have defined key characteristics as a business and you can tell potential new employees like, hey, these are the 3 things that we either believe currently define us or we are working to make sure that they do. And I am going to talk about our actual one. So like for us, constantly learning about business, takes initiative to share our resources and deeply cares about Oklahoma City. So if we were hiring, we could even tell an applicant like, these are the things that describe us. And we could make the questions a lot more real and relevant by saying, you know, I don't know, like talk to me about a time in the last 90 days that you know, someone would look at you and say, man, they really deeply care about their city. Or tell me about a time recently that you shared a resource about something that you were passionate about. Like, what did that look like? How did you do that? Why did you decide to do that? What spurred you on to do that? And then, you know, just, you can make things a lot more personal to, I think, really sift through and find a better fit for, and again, maybe they don't have all those things right now because maybe they are not constantly learning about business right now because it's not relevant to where they're at. But if they're showing the initiative that, I mean, when I get in a role, I love to learn everything I can. And I believe that we're always constantly learning and we never kind of arrive in this place of knowing everything, then that would probably show us this is the type of person that would fit within our key characteristics and fit within the culture of our team.
You said constantly learning right now. That's a hypothetical, could be a really good key characteristic of a business that they might value constantly learning. But last episode, you talked about clarity and the power that is for employees. That really is what it could also provide in the hiring process is like, you may not know Oklahoma City right now, right, for us, but you need to deeply care about it because here's clarity as to what we will expect and is a key characteristic of everybody here. You know what I mean? So
and might give somebody an opportunity to self-select out and say, you know what, like, I actually don't plan to live in Oklahoma City. Like, I don't know, hypothetically or whatever, or like, I don't really care anything about business. And so like, I don't think I could ever picture myself getting to a place where I feel like I'm constantly learning about business. So I think, it provides clarity on both ends for you as the person interviewing to sift through applicants, but also for the people applying to say like, does this really feel like something that I want to be a part of? Because again, when you're interviewing for a job and you get those generic interview questions that are like, tell me about, you know, what would your coworkers say? Like, what kind of animal are you or something?
I was going to say, you do the animal one. Like, what animal are you?
It's just like, that doesn't actually that's not helping me as the applicant get a feel for what is it that you're expecting of me once I start. Because if I know that what you're expecting of me once I start is that I'm constantly learning about business, then I have a lot more clarity coming into this, and that's going to play into my decision making on, is this a role I want to accept or not? And so
it's good.
Might help people self-select or really rise to the top.
There it is.
Well, and to your point, it can help you just get much more specific in the questions that you ask, just to learn about what type of person they are. I'm curious from your perspective of, so let's say a company hasn't done this. They have a team. They get this clarity and determine this is.
I think I know where you're going.
This is.
I hope you're not, and I hope he got that riled up and you go somewhere else.
He knows.
I'll tell you.
This is who you need to be or become. And it becomes clear that you maybe have someone who's already on the team.
Come on.
And they're not that. And they're not really expressing a whole lot of interest in becoming that. As a leader, how do you lead through that?
Well, I think the first thing Aaron talked about is clarity, right? So you just have to hold a mirror up. We talked about it in the last episode. I don't think we talked about it yet, that at our weekly team meeting, we have our guiding principles up, and we talk about our key characteristics, and we talk about our critical actions every single week. And so the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, have we truly given clarity? Did we go through an exercise and like say this one time and then never talk about it again? Because if so, you as a leader need to hold the mirror up and recognize, no, I need to put this in front of them. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I would say you need to leverage patience, because that team member didn't sign up for what you're now asking them to do. We talk about that in our integrated business guide. That's one of the key principles that we believe to be a business that integrates work into faith, that patience matters, the fruit of the Spirit. And then all of that to say, still, I would articulate, if this is a key characteristic to achieve the mission that the company has, right? Because again, the why matters. And I mean, the WHY, that mission matters. Then that person, you probably need to find a different role for them on the bus to where maybe they can get on board. But actually, I'm going to have to correct myself there. No, this actually would lead to somebody probably moving themselves off of the bus. And by their choice to not get in line, that's actually what they're choosing to do. And I mean, that might seem like a big jump, because this would be a long process. So I'm not talking about like jumping there in like weeks. Like this would be a long process to work with someone in the scenario you're talking about. But that's the real conversation. Because if it truly is a key characteristic to your business, then you need your people on board. The only way I could envision this not being a long process is if you've done a good job making it clear and they've said, I don't want to be that. And it's like, that's great. We're not mad at you. We don't hate you, but this is where we're going. And so this might, but that would be the employee driving that, not the business owner. If the employee's like, I want to do this, I just can't figure it out yet. Like there's going to be a ton of patience and grace. And I would say it's the leader's responsibility to help them learn how to become that. And not just expect them to go figure it out. If it's a new thing, like you said, they didn't sign up for, we can lead them to learn how to become someone who deeply cares about Oklahoma City. What does that look like? For example, Aaron, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
Nope.
You
covered it.
Clay's just been taking all of your answers. Well, that was in the last episode. You said something good, and Aaron was just like, nailed it.
It's a good thing. You're great.
I flustered you this episode. Last episode, we were on the same page. It's because she has really big, bold, well-written notes, and I can see her notes. So I'm
just reading them. So we talked a little bit about this. I talked a little bit about this with core values, but as we've kind of dug into this, like for a company that maybe has core values and is thinking, I've already got this, I don't need what you're talking about. How would you help them understand the difference between core values and what we're talking about in key characteristics?
I would reemphasize kind of two elements that you said earlier. One was the specific nature of the key characteristics and really driving that in, because, servant heart, teamwork, excellence, perseverance, these are our values as a company. Those are pretty, again, broad. They can be applied a lot of different ways. Once we get into more specific of takes initiative to share resources, constantly learning about business, they're much more tangible and specific. So I think that's one differentiator that you talked about that I would agree with. And then the other is the aspirational nature, that in all of my years of core values and having those at companies or even learning about them from great leaders like Pat Lencioni and his whole model table group, they talk about core values are not aspirational.
Yeah.
They're permission to play, and they have to be here right now.
Yeah.
I think the key characteristics, a part of the beauty is you can say, you know what, we aren't this yet today. I may not even be it yet as a leader, but I know I need to be this for us to achieve this mission. So now let's set it in front of us and hold ourselves accountable to go be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are two nuances I think that are differences, but that's just reinforcing what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. That's good. Anything to add to that, Aaron?
You're just crushing it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think there's a lot of different ways to describe the difference between those two.
Yeah.
And so I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Received.
Yep.
Thanks.
And so another way that we use these in our weekly team meeting, we end with shout outs on how have you seen people on the team living out key characteristics or critical actions, which we'll talk more about next week. But that's a way that we're weekly. And that's part of that is you're teaching people what this looks like. And then you're also shouting out and really giving praise to people who are living that out and doing it well. Yeah. And so that's a way that this impacts our weekly rhythm as a business. So kind of wrapping up, we have said our key characteristics. Aaron, will you remind everyone the 3 that we have again?
We have 3, yes. Constantly learning about business, takes initiative to share resources, and deeply care about Oklahoma City.
So
OKC.
For that being our key characteristics for our business, how did the two of you see that shaping our company over the next year or so?
I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't see that question on the notes, so I wasn't prepared. But I mean, if all of our employees really do this, I think our business will look very different in a year. First of all, I think market awareness will increase because if we are taking initiative to share resources, then more people will know about our business and the resources that we provide. Constantly learning about business. I think you used this term in the first Business Made Simple series that we did about professionalizing your operation, professionalizing your business. And so I think that as we continue to learn, and you talked about this, Michael, that you and I and our other 2 teammates, so everyone in our business outside of Clay has less business experience than Clay. And so I think by saying, like, if we are going to be people who are constantly learning more about that, then we'll slowly, but we'll start to close that gap, and we will start to learn more about business, and Clay will continue to build on his knowledge base and experience. And then, I mean, I'm just going to hit all of them, but deeply caring about OKC. I mean, I think that one is probably more the heartstrings one of these 3. And I don't know. I hope that I don't think I can really put my finger on what that would look like in our business over the next year and how that would change. But I hope that we get to see some really exciting things because of that. Like, I feel excited to see what happens there if the 5 of us individually and then together as a team and as a business start to live out deeply caring about our city.
Well, and an important thing to remind that you kind of hit on is these characteristics are what need to be true to accomplish the mission. And so to your point, like, if we do these things, our business will look different because we will have accomplished what we set out to do. And just to drill down on one of them, constantly learning about business, we provide business coaching. So if we're going to provide business coaching to other businesses, we believe we have enough value to add, but we aren't content with where we're at. We want to constantly be learning so that we can constantly be providing new value to the clients that we serve through the business coaching that we provide. And so I'm just connecting that one. That's why that is specific to us and what we do. That might not make sense for a business that's not in the same space that we're in. Yeah. So any thoughts you have to add on, Clay?
I'm going to take our weekly discipline of shout outs, and I'm going to give a public recorded shout out to Kara Grace,
come on, Kara.
our awesome, one of our awesome team members, because I saw how the key characteristics of takes the initiative to share our resources, began to almost challenge her lens as she just went through the world as an incredible mom, as a wife, as she interacted with other small businesses in the Oklahoma City area. She began to process, how could I share, what resource of ours could I share at this business when I'm here?
Yeah.
Even if I'm at the dentist, like which resource that we have that we put effort into could add value to this business, which before that lens just wouldn't have been there because it wasn't an expectation. We didn't say it was a characteristic, but now that we've put it there, she comes in sharing these stories and we're like, at a girl, that's exactly it. Thank you. Because that's what we need as a business to achieve our mission.
Yep.
Yeah. So great job, Kara Grace.
Good job, Kara Grace. And that's, for us, Restoration Group is kind of in a startup phase as a company. So Aaron, you talked about like market awareness. If we're not sharing our resources, no one's going to know that we're here to serve them. Yeah. And so that's, and it takes all of us to create that market awareness that, hey, we're here. This is what we do. This is how we can help. And so that will help us accomplish our mission.
That's right.
That's the whole point.
Yep.
So that kind of wraps up our key characteristic episode. Before we close, final thoughts.
Part 2 of the guiding principles complete, right? Moving on next week to part 3.
Yep. So week 1 was mission statement.
Yep.
We just wrapped up key characteristics. Next week will be critical actions. So we do have one more episode in the series. That'll be next week. Also, as we talk about this, you may be wondering how you're doing in your business and your leadership or the other 5 parts of the plane that we talk about. And we have a resource for you. It's called My Business Report. There's a link in the show notes. A couple things. It is free.
Aaron, how much is it?
It is $1 minus $1.
Okay, got it. $0.
So that means it's
$0.
free. There we go. We got there.
Math
Just for those mathematicians out there.
The people who love the math.
It will take you 10 to 12 minutes to fill out. So
I said 12 minutes if you're a slow clicker.
if you're a slow clicker.
That's right.
10 to 12 minutes. And what it's going to do is give you a diagnostic report on your business in these 6 areas, but it won't stop there. It will also kind of customly generate some things you can do to improve, or it will affirm some areas you're doing well. And we just want to make that resource available to you. Link is in the show notes. And the verse for this episode is same as last week, comes out of Psalm 127, verse 1. It says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain.
Thank you for tuning in this week. And until next week, choose life. Thank you for tuning in. To find out more about how Restoration Group can serve you or your business, click the link in the show notes below or go to restorationgroup.co.